Welcome to chess, ladies and gentlemen. All right, man. So this is actually gonna be a really quick video. I had, let me see. I had a guy named Tommy Quiaoit. So I guess shout out to Tommy Quiaoit, if you're out there, bro. He was asking a question about a specific position that came up in my previous video, the one between Wesley So and vachier-lagrave. And so I figured I'd go ahead and it didn't seem like it was kind of like really hitting home, whenever I was, it was me and another one of my guys here, Joe the Senator, trying to kind of explain what's going on. So I felt like maybe there might be some other people out there who watched the video or who came across the game and were kind of curious, as to why queen to g7 couldn't be played in a specific position. So I have the position here. White has just gone, bishop h6, bishop takes, queen takes, right? So we're in this position here. And black plays the move queen to b6. So, the question was, can't I just go queen to g7 and I attack this rook and I attack this knight? And it's like a double attack, right? Like it has to be winning something. You're pretty much figuring that if you go queen to g7, you're going to be dropping either the rook or the knight. The problem is, the major problem that I was explaining is the fact that this king is still stuck in the center of the board, and now there's a gigantic hole on e3. And also, before what I was mentioning is you can't go queen takes here because you're looking at knight to a4. That is only if the queen is back here defending this rook on a1. So since the queen has really just kind of moved really far away from the action, you have a lot of threats in the position if you are white. So taking a look at just two possibilities, the two absolute monster moves in this position is either queen to e3 with check or king to e7. We'll take a look at what both of those look like. So automatically queen to e3 with check. This puts you in a little bit of a pickle. So you have to defend. You either have to move the king somewhere, which you really don't want to go king to d1 or king to f1, or you have to block some kind of way. So the most logical way to block would be bishop back to e2, and then you would see king to e7. And you're using this idea, even though it's immediately available, as you notice, king to e7 defends this knight, and it also connects these rooks. And it is getting a little bit suspect for this queen. So just showing you a little bit more. You really kind of have to get rid of this queen on e3 because at the moment you cannot castle either side because the queen is completely interfering with the square that you need to land on if you're the king. And obviously, as you guys know, well, not obviously, but as most of you guys know, when you are castling, you cannot castle into an attack square if you're trying to castle. So obviously, if the king ends up on this square or this square, you absolutely cannot castle. So that is one of your other problems. You're trying to get into safety somewhere. So you would be trying to evict the queen, maybe with knight to f1. Queen would go back to b6. Then you have to take the opportunity to castle. And then you're looking at knight to d4. And what you're looking at in this position is, you made basically what is an artificial threat that didn't end up anywhere. You just kind of wasted a few moves to get there. Black's rooks are connected. Black is completely in place to do, everything that they are dreaming about. They can move rook over to c8 and then double on the c file, which is what you want to do in a Sicilian. So it really didn't require castling in this specific position. And so there is an immense amount of pressure on this queen side where you've castled your king as white. And also this knight is not really ideally placed. Where are you going to put it? I mean, you're going to put it back on g3, maybe e3, which would be a legitimate thing. But you see that white is in a position where they're having to try to, kind of like get back into the game type situation. So that's not what I meant to do. So if we go back to the position, the initial position, and we see the move king to g7, right? Instead of seeing queen to e3 with check, which is definitely going to be one of the top moves, I mean, black just has the ability of just immediately going king to e7, and queen to e3 is still live. The best diagonal that you actually have for this queen is here because it does protect that e3 square. So if we go forward on this particular situation, if you do decide that you want to castle, which it's absolutely not suggested to castle at all, it's literally suggested to just go back queen to h6. The problem now is you've gone to h6, you went to g7, and you're going back to h6. So you've wasted a few tempi, which you absolutely don't want to do, especially with your king still stuck in the center of the board. So if we did see castles, you would be seeing queen to e3 with check. And there's a really huge problem with this position. After you go king to b1, you have a rook a to g8, and your queen is trapped. So the problem is what you're doing when you go queen to g7 is it seems like you're putting a great attack, but it's a very, very defendable position for black. So you want to try to stay away from creating threats that are easily defendable. So hopefully seeing it visually, for anybody else out there who might have been kind of wondering, like, you know, why can't I go queen to g7? This is exactly why. It's not, I mean, obviously right here it's obvious because your queen is trapped. Like your queen has nowhere to go. So you probably have to go queen takes h8. And then, I mean, that's just a completely lost game. But hopefully this gives some clarification, you know, as to, why we don't go queen g7 in that particular variation. And like I said, whenever you are not castled, you really want to try to stay away from wasting any amount of moves because it definitely can come back to bite you. So hopefully that answers your question. Anybody else out there who was wondering, hopefully it answered your questions as well. I appreciate you guys very much, and I'll see you next time.